what I'm going to show you are things that I tried, things I found, and things that I'm wondering right now about animation. So the problem with the animation image frame by frame animation is very dependent on apparatus. Animation cannot exist without something to make it move, to make it to make it appear to our brain. And every new technology has an impact on its aesthetic. And as AI starts doing things with animated images, we can expect that it will have an impact on animation aesthetics, just as any new technology. Right now, there is this. What I'm researching right now are I am interviewing animators. I am trying to decipher if there is a local culture of animation in Europe. And I realized that if we don't document it, there might be a lot of things that we may lose if we get too far away from the idea of a timeline. So we have a timeline, we work image by image. So I'm going to talk merely from a 2D animation perspective, which is kind of a special. There is right now AI is working for live images and photographic images, and not that much for 2D animation. So 2D animation is kind of a special case within the realm of AI. I'm going to first have a look at aesthetic of AI moving images. Then I will present you what I think are important aspects of the aesthetic of frame by frame animation, and especially about the rhythm. And then I will have a little more anthropological part, which is poiesis and AI. So poiesis is the relationship between, the fact that we do, the relationship between the person who does and the thing that they do. So technically, animation, frame by frame animation, it's a very slow medium, and it's expensive. And so on one part, it's a very powerful medium, because you can express anything from your imagination more or less from scratch. Not exactly from scratch, but still kind of. So you can express in the word your imagination. The thing is, since the beginning of animation, there is a tension between technicity, because it's such a technical dependent medium, and the fact that it is a very strong expression medium. So we have on one side the author work, that is kind of craftsmanship, and on the other side we have the industry, and those two words don't really cohabitate. Like all the short films, the author films are more or less living in festivals that only very interested people go to. And then the industry is what we see on television and on the cinema. And the industry has a very standardized way of working. So we sort of have two words. People work in the two words, but the public doesn't necessarily know how much of the author part of it. So I'm an author, and I'm not very interested of how Gen AI make images look very standardized. My question is more, can I use AI as an author And also, can I control the results to make like specific things or original things? So when there is a new medium, we have two ways of apprehending it. So the first part is medium medium reflexivity. So what can we do with the medium? And then medium as a tool. So the medium as a tool, meaning what is there? Can we control the output of the medium and use it just as a tool? So even though I am trying to inform how GenAI could impact 2D animation, I will use examples that express moving images on a broader sense, since right now it's a lot broader than just 2D animation. So AI promises to make your imagination appear through a word prompt, which seems to be very powerful. You just have to align a few words and then you have a picture. But this is really not that simple, and especially when it comes to graphic images. At minima, the Gen AI promises that there are a lot of like painful tasks that will disappear. And then we will have more time for conception and ideation. The question is it true? Are these promises true? As far as graphic AI is concerned, as opposed to photorealistic, it seems that the data to train models largely come from animation in its broader sense, and work from animation professionals, especially the styles that are a little bit mainstream, but still very technical, like what we see for AAA game licenses. For example, ArtStation is a style, or used to be a style, that you could use as a prompt. So what you are seeing now is the kind of pictures that ArtStation is using on their front page as an advertisement for what is in the social network and what is the identity of their community. And when we compare it to what's going on Civit AI, which is like a library of models, of LoRa models, and also a library of, there's a lot of competition. They host competition of AI generated art. Well, we see that the look is very specific and very close to what we can see on ArtStation. There are some looks that are a little bit harder to enhance, like, but all those digital painting, like complex digital paintings that takes a lot of skill and a lot of time to make, are actually the ones that are more easily replicated by the Gen AI. At the exception, like, for example, this artist, I had a hard time finding things that looks like what he does, because his characters have a lot of character, actually. And AI right now is not very good at translating intentions, and especially specific posings, like emotions and things like that. So we can find things that kind of look like it, but when there's a lot of intention in the drawings, AI is not that good. On the other side, like this is a 3D modeler that make mechanical stuff, and he's the kind of guy that is on the front line of being in competition with AI. AI, and from my point of view, can actually do better because they not only make the 3D model, but they also have all the atmosphere, lighting, and it's not only about making the model, but also making the whole photographic look around it. And so you need several people to achieve such a result for when you have human beings, but the AI can just enhance it quickly. And it's still something that needs a lot of skills. Otherwise, AI-generated images, as far as 2D graphics is concerned, we can see that there's a lot of influence of animation aesthetics, especially Japanese, Korean, Chinese kind of animation, and also superheroes, fantastical, VFX, video game, concert art. So there's a test for animation aesthetics in what is coming out of Gen AI. So it's a specific aesthetics. It's a skill. It needs a lot of skill. It's long to make. It's elaborate paintings. It's pop, and there's quite a pressure for standardization. For example, when you want to be hired as a concept artist in a big video game company, you need to have a very specific portfolio. So it's a very elitist kind of technical standard. And in the meantime, that's what AI does the best. So what about specificity? Can we do specific stuff with Gen AI? So this is a very old AI aesthetics. So this is disco diffusion, but that's the kind of images we saw at the beginning. And we had a few experiments. Yes, like this kind of things. I don't know if it's going to work that well. No, maybe I will leave it small. So, non, ça marche. So that kind of infinite traveling with very morphing images. So it's a very weird look, which is kind of appealing and also, appealing, fascinating, and a bit creepy. And that's the kind of thing that people experimented with what is coming out of the Gen AI. So we can make artwork with what the AI is giving us, and we currently we get very nice things like this artist called Shane F. He's got an Instagram account where he does a lot of experiments. So this is a basis of smoke effects, and he uses the smoke effects to generate this very strange and organic growth of mushroom. And so so we get interesting things out of the original AI aesthetics. And we also get things like that. So Aziza Kadiri, she's working on her own identity as an immigrant, actually. And so she's doing self-portraits with her with folk embroidery. And she's using this very changing, morphing quality of AI to translate this idea of flickering identity kind of thing. So those people are actually using the actual Gen AI aesthetics to make art. And there's also another strategy that is kind of finding veins in the data set and kind of digging into it. So at some point we started to see that kind of aesthetics, like a little bit retro-futurist, 70s, very colorful kind of aesthetics, and it felt very new. And then once one Instagram account started, there were a lot of others doing something very similar. And my hypothesis is that it is not that people try to obtain this aesthetic. It's more like when they find an interesting aesthetic, they will dig into the data set and sort of milk it. And we actually get a lot of variations. Like this one is an actual short film that is also in this strange retro-futurist 70s aesthetics. So it's a bit different, but it does has the same field, and it's from another artist. So I think there is something like digging veins in the data sets, getting things out of it, and try to edit it as a collage kind of thing. So there we go for that. When I see what I see in Gen AI kind of short films like this one, if I manage to, attends. Go away. So it was a short film that was made for I think the first year of DALI or something like that. So it's made mostly with DALI and Gen AI kind of image to video prompts. And also face recognition, face motion capture for the dialogues. So what we see is this very still kind of setup. Also, it's very close to what to the kind of creature comfort short film that Hardman did. So we have little interviews of creatures in the forest that hardly move and tell cute things about their lives. And actually, so this is quite old, and that it was kind of an experiment. But now we have things like that are actually trying to get sold as child programs on television. Not television, but I mean, they are hoping to get into television, but for now they are making a YouTube channel for kids. So it's called the company is called Mini Studio. And they say, okay, our writer is a psychologue, and we want to make short films with good values for the kids. So there's this cute furry monster story about a little furry monster who wants to live adventures. There's a bit more moves than in the former one, but it's still quite still actually, and it still feels a lot like a collage. There's no consistency between you can't really tell which is the main character really, and there's a narrator voice telling the story of the creature. So this is an actual product. They want to sell it and have make money from it, like an actual studio. The weird thing is that they do the scenario, they generate the videos, and then the animators come only at the end to kind of retouch things, but there's hardly any human work on it. And believe it or not, this is another studio doing that. Okay, the weird thing is that I'm not online with this thing. So it shouldn't, ça devrait pas ramener. Voilà. So, okay, sorry, you might not get, yes, that's good. So this is another studio in another place. With the same kind of apparatus. So we've got pictures of little monsters and a voiceover that does the narration. It's made with Luma AI. They used it as a promotion short film, and then it did a very bad buzz because of this. If you look here, you can see a character from Monster Inc. So at that stage, they said, "Oh, we didn't really generated it in purpose. It's one of our users that created this image, and we didn't try to rip off Pixar." Okay, whatever. What I get from this is that we do have a vein that is cute, fluffy monster that is probably fed with Monster Inc. and Pixar kind of imagery. So all the people that do the cute, fluffy monster thingies are digging in the same area of the dataset and getting the same kind of pictures in the end. And this, for example, is like a mix between the cute fluffy monster and the retro future 70s kind of aesthetics. So we've got cute monsters in still sort of still in the sequence, and also I think, is there a voiceover? I don't remember. No, there's just a general sound. But yeah, for me, it's kind of the interface between the two universe that I just showed you. And generally, we get this kind of, for now, this is the kind of aesthetics we get for animated generated videos. That is a collage of more or less well-produced images, and like those kind of moves, camera moves, that gives a little bit of life to it, sort of still poses, even though it's getting better, and voiceover. So right now, this is still very collage kind of aesthetics, and not really an editing like we would expect from cinema. So what about enhancing a specific style? So those are generalist styles that you come across when digging into the dataset. What if I want to enhance an actual specific style? Like, as far as I'm concerned, what I would like would be like I do my rough animation and the GenAI cleans the animation in my style, so that I am doing the director's work and less time doing the assistant work kind of thing. So this is my style, and one of the first. So this is a video, a movie, a music video that I'm working on, and one of my first tests was, can I enhance my style with a written prompt? So I tried to describe my style, and I got things that were close, but not that at all. So we have the scratches, we have the paint strokes, we have the stains, but it's very far from my style. Another issue was the kind of characters that I got. So I either got very young model, model kind of woman, or if I ask for an older woman, or I would get an old woman. That is, there's no middle-aged woman, or it's very hard to enhance. This one was made with DALI. The Photoshop, the Adobe generator has a lot more variety, so you get a wider range of people, but it's still quite hard to have like 30-something, 40-something women. They are either very young or very old. This sort of express what is going on the internet right now. Lots of very young women and not a lot of middle-aged women representation. Another test I did was, so this is another still from the same music video. And so this is a mermaid, and the mermaid is very interesting as a test for a motor, because most of the time it makes very monstrous things. So the idea of a body of a woman and a fish, you get like tails everywhere. And also the mermaid is holding a sailor, which was my problem. So on this frame, the sailor is not well enough defined. And when people see the sequence, they don't really realize that she's holding the sailor. So I was thinking, can AI help me with that? So I used it as an image prompt this time. And so you can feed it to the model and blur it, and then the model works from there. The first result was very far from what I wanted, and as you can see, it's having a hard time working with several characters. So this is what's left of the poor sailor here, and yeah, he kind of invented a squid in the story. This is another try with a less blurry image. So it's very close to my first image, but it's also a very generic kind of style. So that's interesting. I'm actually thinking to redraw my sequence with a posing that would look more like that, but I couldn't use it, even though there are little things that look a bit like what I would do. It's still so close, so far away in the meantime, at the same time. Another test that I did was, so this is a smear, what we call a smear frame. That is a frame in the middle of a movement that is kind of blurry because it covers several intervals in one. So the movement is too wide to be decomposed in one frame, and so it's the same mermaid. She's what's the word? She's diving forward toward us. So this is her head. This is her shoulders, and this is the tail. I actually used the ref for it, and I just don't have this picture anymore. This is the final frame, and this is what it did, and that's a reoccurring problem when you use like control nets or posers that are supposed to help the Gen AI to understand the posing. It wants to make faces, even though it's the back of the character. So this time he tried. It really didn't understand the pose, and this is something I realized each time I want a pose that is a little bit special. It won't do it. So what about controlling the output? A way to control the output is use the AI to enhance a drawing that you did already. So there is this short film on Netflix Japan called The Dog and the Boy. And they did a buzz that around their short film because they say they use Gen AI to make all of their backgrounds. And actually, their process was they would do a first what they call the layout, but it's still it's in color. It's quite detailed, but it might be, I don't know, 2 or 3 hour work. They feed it to the AI. The AI enhanced it with a lot more details, like painting, the kind of painting that would take maybe 1 day or 2 to make. And then after two steps of AI generation processing, they retouch the background by hand. So they actually take out quite a lot of details and they enhance the light. So this could be a way to control the output. You do the first part and you do the last part, and you use the Gen AI to enhance the work. I tried. My issue was, okay, I was thinking, okay, I could probably AI could help me for to make storyboards. And my point was how rough can I make an image and have it enhance my image to make storyboards. Storyboard is a very standardized kind of tool, so especially in 2D for television. So I thought it could work. So this is a very rough sketch of mine for a face that would be before the storyboard. I call it prédécoupage. I don't know if there's a word for it in English, but it's like the thumbnails. Yeah, let's say the thumbnails, the preparation thumbnails for my storyboard. And actually, I got good enough results. So it was a coffee shop. My idea was it's a coffee shop, and it got destroyed because there have been a huge monster fight in the town. And so pictures like that, I could imagine retouch it to put it in perspective, or also at some point after a little bit of tinkering, I actually got a good enough perspective view, and I got a lot of different results that were okay and that I could have used in a storyboard. And that would have helped me win time, save time, sorry. And I thought, what about those apps that say we can do storyboard for you? Because there's also this thing that we can sort of say, like if you do a dialogue, your character will stay on one character will stay more or less on one side of the screen, and the other character will stay in the other side, and so you you sort of can tell the rules, some basic rules of cinematographic language. So it seemed to me that it was the safest place for AI to help the technicians. So I tried the apps, like this one is Board AI, that pretend to be able to do a storyboard, and the result is very bad. The frames look okay, but there is no when you look at it. So don't look at this thing. Like I didn't change the template, but my sequence was a little girl is getting bored, or a little kid that happens to be a girl is getting bored in the living room, and you see the garden outside. It's spring, and then suddenly snow starts snowing, which motivates her to go out. So she goes at the back of the garden. At the back of the garden, there is a wire fence, and she sees a little boy behind the wire fence in the forest that is behind the garden. And it was a total fail. So first, if you say it's a little girl, it's going to be a very girly little girl. And then there's no sense of editing in the output. Like, this is supposed to be the little girl. This is supposed to be the view from the window. This is supposed to be the view from the garden of the little girl coming out, and she's turning her back at us. And also I had a very hard time managing to have a wire fence at the back. I would mostly get wooden fences. So this is a fail. I tried with Stable Diffusion again, and this time I tried with Stable Diffusion that I can install on my machine. So this is another very rough sketch. So I used what is called a denoise. So I used it as an image prompt. I used a denoise, which is more or less how blurry or how close it is supposed to stay from my picture, and it was a little bit disappointing. Like, it couldn't decipher my posing. It would keep making my legs as a heap of textile, and I would either have a good enough background or a good enough kit, but not the both of them. This is one of the best pictures I got from this strategy, and as you can see, it's doing weird things with the background outside. But it still got the idea that the kid was a little bit sad and had its leg crossed. And I used another strategy, which is using my picture as a control net. So it's another step. So instead of using it as the image prompt, I use it as let's say, a composition freezer. And so it works a little bit too well, which it means that it doesn't enhance my picture. It keeps the problems of my rough sketch. It doesn't make it better. It just keeps it. But it's good enough. Well, it enhances it a little bit still. Things become harder when I try a complex image. So this is still a very rough sketch. I agree with the fact that I tried. My idea was how clean do I need to make my picture so that it understands what I want. So this is the little girl at the front, behind the fence, and at the back the little boy with a beer hoodie. And so this is where things go totally south. The more complex the image, the worse it goes. So it did a lot of very weird stuff. It's totally hallucinated. So having two characters in the same picture is actually a problem for now. This was a complex pose. So at that point, the little girl tried. So there's a door on the fence that is broken, and so she slides between the door and between the door that is still closed, kind of thing. And I had a very hard time getting a good pose. As you can see, I asked, you can ask for style complements, kind of thing. So I asked for a moody light, and I asked for a more comic style, and it got better, but also it went into a very urban environment instead of the very countryside environment that I had. So it kind of colors the mood of the picture. I still had very crazy, hallucinating kind of poses. Yeah, and it was so having a very specific posing with intention is very hard to get. I'm still very hopeful because we can find tries out like this one that is let's say a tie down kind of sketch, and we get a good enough result. But of course, it is a photographic kind of result, which is what GenAI does the best. What about animation? So rhythm. When I work frame by frame, I can work the rhythm in a very granular way. And for now, the Gen AI don't have any timeline, so it's going to have. I think first, I think that as long as we can't use Gen AI in a timeline, it's going to be very hard to implement in an animation workflow. But in the meantime, if the timeline disappears, we will have a strong impact on the rhythm. And so far, the rhythm in Gen AI is this very smooth kind of rhythm. We do get pretty interesting things like this animation that has like a very nice visual, but maybe you can feel it. This is style transferred from a video, so we can feel the video underneath. And that's where the tension is right now. We still need someone to make the movement. So either it's someone that does it, get filmed and does it, or it's an animator. So this is a recurring problem. How can we control the posing and the animation? So one of the solution is the control net. And there's one of the control net that is a little virtual skeleton that we can pose like a 2D puppet kind of thing. Reviens par là. So it's color coded, so that's the AI generator knows what is the face, what is the left and right arm. The thing is, if you do a back pose or if you do an animation that turns around, it's still going to generate faces at moments that you don't want it. So it's not a perfect solution. It's a good enough solution, but it's a little bit silly for me as a 2D animator, since why would I spend some time like moving a 3D puppet when I can do a drawing, really? And we already have a few solutions that exist. So this is, pardon, faut que je sorte de là. This is a rigger. This is Dwick for After Effects. This is a rig. So this is a virtual skeleton that I can apply to a drawing and make it move. So I just have to do the main poses of my character, and then it will interpolate by itself, and it will keep a very good sense of my animation. This is another very powerful tool that is called Moho. They are using it in Cartoon Saloon for Wolf Walker, for example. It allows us to go very far into controlling 2D drawing without making too many pictures. One of the most elegant solutions come from this, as far as AI is concerned, is Cascadeur. Cascadeur is aimed at 3D. And it's a very clever tool that is using posing. So you do the keys, and Cascadeur will generate the in-betweens according to your keys and also to a physical model. So it's going to be a very effective way of doing the intervals using AI, but it's for 3D. And the latest innovation is this Chinese app called Kling AI, and they have this very clever tool where you draw a trajectory, just like in Flash in the old days, and the character is following the trajectory, but if you look in detail, like the legs and stuff, it's still not very cohesive. Like the body of the character is all over the place. They have a few. Ah oui, pardon, faut que je change. Sorry, go away. They have a few other examples like this one. But as you can see, the trajectory is not enough. We would still need, like, the poor soldier is basically flying. We would still need a lot of work on the posing to make it work. But I guess this is somewhere we're going toward. That is probably setting some of the maybe less keys than we are doing now, and setting trajectories. And at some point, this could work. And this is not, well, you still need an animator to do something good with that kind of tool. So animation is not dead yet. Just for the fun, or maybe not. Yeah, the cat part, if you look at the legs and stuff, there is no gravity and it's doing very weird stuff with its legs. It's impressive, but it's not really working when you are looking at it in details. What I think is working right now is what is called style transfers. That is, so this is the first picture is a video I generated from AI. It's a cycle. Then I used a drawing of mine and I transferred it to the animation. So the model is quite far from the video, but it's still sticking the animation, and it also it added details on the hair that I didn't draw. So for me, style transfer is maybe the more promising innovation with AI. In the meantime, there are already tools that are older technologies that are working pretty well. So this is something that is developed in a French studio in Angoulême. It's a digital painter that follows your animation, your video, or your 3D. It works very well. I used it on a 2D animation short. And another tool that works very well is this one. It's called EB-Synth. They are using it. All their demo are made with video, but it also works with drawings. And so you make a painting, and it will apply the painting to as many frames as long as the posing is close enough. That is, if the character moves does a 180 or a 360, you have to redraw a painting for this radical. I will show an example instead of describing. So this is a drawing. I made a sequence of key animation on this style. I used a photo of my storyboard that is in color, and I applied it with EB-Synth, and you can see that as long as the frame, so it's just keyframes, there's no intervals, which is why it's a little bit like frame by frame like that. But as long as the framing is close enough, it follows the animation, and then when the hand comes before the head, it starts going south. So I would need to redraw something for the end, and also ask Epson to apply the first picture once the hand is out of the way. But otherwise, it works. So for as a reminder, this was my animation frames, and this was what I asked it to apply. So it does a pretty good. It's been used by a lot of my students in Angoulême, and it works pretty well on anything. And this is neural network. This is not GenAI. It's an older it's still AI, but it's an older technology. So style transfers with neural network allows us to really control the consistency, which is still not the case for AI. So for Gen AI. So this is a tutorial that you can find online. This is from prompt, so you can use you can say this will be the seed from which you will generate from now, and I want this character to look like that on all your next generation. So at first glance, it seems to work, but when you look in details, the haircut is not very consistent. The size of the head is not very consistent. The ratio of the legs is not very consistent. So it would look okay to do like a comic or something like that, but to make animation, consistency is really an issue right now for animation. Gen AI style transfer is getting better and better, but there are two issues for now. It's still a bit there's still a lot of inconsistency when we look in details. When we look in details, there's from one frame to the other, there's still a lot of flicking, just like in the beginning of AI, and also another issue is that Gen AI is mostly trained with video and live kind of material, so we still get a very rotoscopy kind of feel to it, which is I think when I show rotoscopy to the public, they don't necessarily see a problem with it. I really feel that the public get used to whatever you show them to be like the style of your animation. And maybe only animators are pissed with rotoscopy, that's possible. But still, we developed such a refined sense of style with animation that it's kind of a pity that it disappears because we didn't save it, sort of. Still, I believe that the future is in style transfer. This is what could be the most useful. Like this was one of the first runaway marketing demo, and with a very few stuff, you can make something. You can enhance very far your animation. The issue is still okay. I can do something fun with a pile of toilet paper in my bathroom, but can I control the output? This is another story. So it's going to do something very produced, but not necessarily something you can exactly control the way you want it to look. Here is a very interesting experiment. It's called Odd Bird. The guy did a whole site where he describes his process. So he makes this kind of stop motion characters on Blender. So yeah, this is still this. I think it works also because it is still some kind of photo aesthetics, even though it is definitely animation. This is stop motion and this is photo. And his process is that in Krita you can use a plugin, a stable diffusion plugin, and he trained LoRa models, which is reduced models, if you want, for each of his characters. So that's also the trick. You need one model for one character. But the powerful thing is that once you have your model, your trained model for your character, your rough can be as rough as that, which is extremely rough. And the app will enhance your sketch like the character you trained it with. So this is very powerful, and this is very impressive. I will just show you the results. So the thing, when you look at it in detail, you could sort of see that the person is not a professional animator, but the result is still more refined than what you could expect from an amateur work. So it's a little bit weird, but it's working. And the guy definitely has some integration problems because he's not a professional compositing technicians. But considering that he kind of tinkered it by himself, the result is still quite impressive. The issue is that to achieve that, he has to have a model for each of his characters. So it's a very tedious task. And that's one of the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Is the result worth the effort of setting up a model for every single character? So for me, right now, the limitation for style transferred into the animation are the fact that the model are trained with photo images, and so they are better at photorealistic results than graphic results. Training a model for each element of your project is tedious and time-consuming. If you're doing a short film, it might not be worth the effort. And the workflow is still very compartmentalized. You have one model for one character, and when you have your character, you don't have the other characters, you don't have the interaction between the characters, and you don't have the background and nor the camera move, nor whatever. So as animators, we are used to working in layers, but we still have the layers kind of in the same softwares, and here we have to compartmentalize a lot more. Like for here, we have the guy is working on his character and then on his background from this. This is the source, the video source. The good thing is that the video source can be very rough and you get a good enough result. That's where I've got hope for animation and Gen AI. So this is another tutorial where
so I finally got a chance to play around with Suzu.
Where about consistency, where we can see the workflow to achieve consistency from Midjourney and word prompts. So the guy have to find the model of his character, and once he finds the model, he will try to find a posing for it. So this is a posing like a more elaborate posing, and once he has the posing, he will try to widen the field and get a little bit of background. And once he widens the field, he will build wider and wider. So he really has to work in circles. He starts with the face and the model, then the posing, then the background, then try to work the background further. So he really there's no one way to like describe your picture and get a result. You really have to go step by steps in a kind of a tedious strategy to get your picture. You have to imagine that some people will spend 4 days just trying to achieve a result like that. And when you see the kind of picture it is, in 4 days, you would have done it by yourself, actually, drawing on your computer. So there's another space where GenAI has a future, and it would be automatic in-betweening. But again, for graphic images, it's not quite working yet. So this is a test from a guy called Youssef K. He did a very detailed blog post on April of this year on testing generated in-betweenings, and this is what he got as a result. So this was the animations. This was the in-between animation, and this is an example of the kind of in-betweening he got from the GenAI. Automated animation in-betweening is a very old project. Like we have this research from 2017 that is quite well, it's working. I mean, when you look at it, it's working. The thing is, it's breaking the rhythm, especially for Japanese animation. Japanese animation has a very strong sense of rhythm, very low frame rate. They are often at 8 frames per second. I have no idea why it's not working. Those videos are stored on my hard drive. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Japanese animation, it's a very refined kind of style for low frequency animation, and using automatic in-betweener makes it very smooth and, from my point of view, a lot less interesting. So there's this risk that if we get obsessed with putting more frames in our animations, we will only get a smoother kind of animation and lose all the sense of rhythm that we developed in 1.5 centuries of frame-by-frame work. Anyhow, automatic in-betweening kind of work. So this is also an older technology. This is a neural network. It's free. It's called FlowFrame. It's a free standalone app, and it will make your in-between. And if you look at it, there's a few glitches, but it's not so bad. And we tested it with a sequence from my students. So this is a third-year students animation, and as you can see, the weird glitch that we got are from FlowFrame. So I lowered down the frequency so that you could see clearly the issues with the in-betweening. But actually, it would be quite fast to correct those mistakes, because even though it's blurry, you can still see where you would have to draw, and it's a lot less work than having to redraw your whole picture. You would just have a few strokes here and there to redo. And this is a free technology that is currently available and has been available for a few years now. So this is AI, but this is neural network and not GenAI. I still tested it with my very painterly style. It doesn't work too well, but it would be interesting to use it as a glitch aesthetics. The issue is there is still no timeline in those applications, so it's very complicated to think how to put it in the workflow. So should we like take our animation, put it in here with a lot of frames, then take it back in our timeline and take off all the images we don't want? Should we just use it for a few sequences here and there because we want to animate underwater with a camera move? So it would be useful to have it at 24 frames per second. This is still an issue, and as long as it is not inside our tools, it's a little bit difficult to use. I've got a few examples of automated in between. I'm not sure you will see the difference on your side because of the zoom frequency, but my point is it changes the style of the animation. Where it doesn't change too much is like for the Disney from 24 frame per second to 60 frame per second. It's not obvious because Disney animation is already smooth. So maybe that's the kind of thing we could use if we want maybe do some mapping, for example, or any tool that needs a lot more frame per second. With computer animated animation, maybe it would be useful straight away, but it's still an issue. How do we add it within your workflow? And in the meantime, when I'm complaining about how smooth the automatic in-betweening is when I look at like puppet 2D computer puppet animation with automatic intervals, we do get this very smooth kind of feel. So it becomes the style of this kind of animation. So maybe this is not that bad. On the other way around, we get things like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is a 3D program where they used 2D animation strategies to have a more organic and rhythmic and punk kind of style. So for this character, each element has a different frequency. I don't remember exactly what, but the character is at exposed at 3, and some parts are exposed at 4 or 6, which is under the feeling of movement continuity, and some other parts are exposed at 2 frames. So they used a very creative way of exposing the animation in a very frame by frame style when they are using 3D and curves and could obtain a very smooth kind of animation. For you to understand what I mean by that, I will just show you a few examples. So this is a TikTok actor, and she's mimicking some specific animation styles. And if you look at her earrings, you can. So this is the only of the 3 that is at its real pace. You can see that to be able to imitate an animation kind of acting, she has to tweak her time and to change the time of her video. So the thing is, animation movement is not a realistic kind of movement. It has to look believable, but it's not a physical movement. It's a subjective kind of movement, and no human can do it without tweaking the time of the video. And also, there's another thing. So this is the kind of chart that you may have seen in or maybe you use it, so I don't know, but if you look at traditional animation, you see charts like that are usually on the side of the drawing. And it's actually a chart that is giving information about where to put the next drawing. So those are frames. So this is frame number 1, this is frame number 3, this is frame number 5. And what you have to understand is the drawing on frame number 3 is close to the 1, whereas the drawing on frame number 9 is quite far or further from 7 and from 11. So it's both a chart for spacing and for timing. And depending how you set up this timing and spacing, you get a very different rhythm from the same number of frames. Norman McLaren and Grant Munro in 1976 did a didactic program for Canada ONF. You can find it online. And they developed the idea that the idea of tempo for animation, so more or less a musical kind of feel of the timing. And and for them, there's a very strong. You have to have a very strong sense of tempo that is composed that you can decompose into constant movement, accelerating or decelerating movement, zero movement, or irregular movement. And they develop it in great details. And as a result, rhythm is an integral part of what makes us the style of an animation. This is a series of charts that a guy called Ron Doucet drew. He's a senior animator and also animator director on a few North American. He's from Canada, but he worked in a lot of popular TV series. And this is a chart he drew to sort of explain the style of each series, and to show how different the style of the rhythm can be. So, for example, we have the very smooth Disney and Richard Williams, that if you are an animator, you've read everything he wrote about animation. This is a very smooth, luxurious kind of animation, where this is this chart. A lot of frames, very regular and very smooth, ease in and ease out. And on the opposite side, we've got stuff like Gumball, where there is hardly any intervals and very strong keyframes. So this is this one. So this is the two sides of the spectrum in terms of rhythm. And then other examples, so Ghibli, they work at 8 frames per second on Totoro, but they have this very smooth, lively kind of feel to it, whereas we have a whole tradition of anime that is very low frequency with a lot of cheats, like things happening in between the editing and long posing and cycles within the frame. And when we look at the kind of animation that we get from GenAI, we've got a very smooth, regular, and more morphing kind of animation. Just so you know, évidemment, je vais pas le retrouver. Just so you see, this one, the guy actually used something very close to frame-by-frame animation. So he has images that he feeds as keyframes, and then the program does sort of morphings between the frame. And for that, he actually says at j'aurais dû noter. Ah voilà, c'était là, putain. Voilà, here we can see that he says at frame 0, we've got the picture that is smile. At frame 4, we've got the blinking and so on. And this is very close to a very old tool we used to use in animation that is called exposure sheets, where we would say, use time frame and written indication to planify the timing. So it's kind of a back to the future kind of thing, where we end up writing the equivalent of exposure sheets for inside a GenAI tool. So as a conclusion, I'm going to talk a little bit about the relationship between animator and the kind of tools that are AI. First thing, do we use it? Is it used? So you can find right now a report that was asked by the Animation Guild, the Concept Art Association, Human Artistry Campaign, and National Cartoonist Society Foundation. They did a survey within the industry asking if people in the industry are using AI in their work right now in North America. So this is self-reporting. It's not it's not the best kind of intel. We know that big studios like Ubisoft developed research and development inside their company for GenAI. But what the result of the survey is that mostly, so you can't read from here, but you can find it in the report. Mostly, it is used for sound design, a little bit for FX, and a little bit for voiceover, for writing, and very few to generate images. And when they generate images, it's more for the development part and not really for the production part. The question is, why aren't we using it? Well, probably because it's pretty tedious. So if you saw this, if you missed it, have a look at this workflow from Corridor Crew. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Where they did an anime with Gen AI, and they did the same kind of strategies that we saw earlier with Odd Birds. That is, they made one model for each character. Each character is played by one comedian, and they separated the characters from the background, and at the end they do this very fancy, spectacular, and a little bit silly anime style project. But that's still like crazy kind of workflow. And also, the workflow is crazy, but it needs very powerful computers. It needs a lot of resources in calculation, in teaching the model, and also in rendering the images. So it's a lot of resources for a very heavy pipeline. And so yes, right now the studio haven't adopted it. In France, only the big studios have the resources to do research development, but there are also other issues that I gathered from my anecdotal experience discussing with a French worker and Swiss worker. So a big issue is ethics toward workers. Studios are afraid that they would have that AI would reduce the workforce. There are copyright issues. For now, you cannot be sure that you will be able to ask for your copyright if you made something with AI. So there are law projects on the brewer right now, but it's not done yet. So you are not sure to have to earn the money from the work you did with copyright. There's a lack of previsibility and reliability in the results. It feels very much like being on a slot machine. You toggle, it does whatever, it hallucinates, and suddenly something works, and you don't really know why, and it's very difficult to replicate the results. So it uses a lot of computer resources, and it's a pain to use. It's really not nice to use. It's very much you don't get into a flow when you work with Gen AI. You are a pigeon pushing a button again and again, and sometimes you're close to it and it's not coming out, and you spend hours of your time just changing your prompt and pressing buttons. There is still also an issue of ethics, because even if you train your model with your own pictures, which would be good, the models are already used a lot of pictures that were on the internet from our other artists and other people that didn't agree to that. So there's a strong ethic issue about using AI. On the other hand, academic research in France is working on frugal models that are lighter, less heavy on resources. The problem is that if you want to build your own model from scratch, you still have to label all the data, and this is crazy work as well. So you have to take each pictures and label it by hand. And right now, somewhere in the world, there are hundreds or thousands of people that are labeling pictures for a very low wage. So it's also a new kind of slavery. So like, even if you want to do a very frugal, ethical work with AI, it's extremely tedious and it's a lot of work. For the record, I talk to people who use AI as artists. So I talked to someone that is injured. He can't draw as much. So he fed his own drawings to the model so that he can just do roughs, and the model enhance his drawings in his style. So he doesn't have to work. He can still work, but doesn't have to draw as much. I've got people who create references or documents that doesn't exist. So in more developing kind of part, to find inspiration, to make, and I did that too. I had AI to make up a document that doesn't exist or that are kind of impossible, and then I use it as reference. We still have people that have curiosity for the medium and just try it and make things the medium does. And also there's a few other very less spectacular uses that I didn't mention, but AI is very good at finding borders. So it would be very powerful to make masks and to cut out like rig for stop motion, for example, So I'm not sure it works, but I feel that it could work. And this is one of the things I want to try at some point. Also enhancing the file size of a project, like your old project that is on your hard drive. You could enhance it and make it work for cinema now, so kind of restoration kind of thing. Other also lip sync, maybe. I don't see it working now for 2D, but at some point to lip sync and also synchronizing with music is might be very powerful and usable in a very near future. So the thing is, a 2D animation pipeline needs consistency from one frame to another. A result according to complex intention and control of the output, which are the places where GenAI is struggling right now. So for now, this is difficult to use it beside experimenting on it, actually. But I'm still hoping that GenAI will save me from very tedious and annoying stage of making animation, where I could spend more time directing, conceptualizing, and also finishing the images, and not spend so much time doing intervals or maybe coloring my pictures. So yes, for now, GenAI is still a normalization machine. It's still spit out very normalized kind of pictures, and also it needs the tools don't have a very user-friendly interface. It's still very much a developer kind of logic, and it's not integrated in our tools. So as long as it's not, well, one of the things that I heard from the studios was if it's not in the tool, it's not going to be used. And so maybe some big studio will build their own things, but for medium-sized and small studios, it's not usable yet. Yeah, and there's another thing is when you want to teach yourself AI, there's a lot of information that is actually made by AI, automatically generated, and is not very good. So there's that also. If you want to learn, you have to go deep and the superficial. Right now there's a lot of noise that is generated, and that is not very rich information. Voilà. So the other thing we should look out for is not get too much impressed by shiny object when we have other tools that do work. Older technologies work, and the new marketed technologies are not as good. So let's not forget that we have things that we can use that work. And also GenAI is a pain to use, and that's something that is as long as it's not in the software, it's a pain. Voilà. So as a conclusion, from my point of view, animation is a technology of the Anthropocene. It was invented at the same time as the la machine à vapeur. What's the word in the thing that makes the train work? So it's it's the same. The same era of industrialization where animation merged. So it is going to be impacted by anything the industrial civilization will give to us. One thing that we need to watch out for is that in a materialistic perspective, the anthropologists believe that intelligence or spirits is a phenomenon that emerge from the way our body interact with matter. And objects like GenAI are at the opposite of it. And also it's a result of what makes us human. Like we are a designer species. And for the old anthropologists like Brusina or Frank Castel, we have a history of externalizing. A tool is an externalization, but a book is also an exteriorization of our memory. And the Gen AI is is a very exteriorized way of making things. So this thing that is very specific to us human is also the thing that pull us away from our humanity, because it pulled us away from interacting with the materiality. And and from my point of view, animation is always in tension between very tedious craft stuff and this very technological thing that we are seeing now. And as a last word, I would say we have to watch out not to ask the machine to do something we love to do. There are things that we love to do and that put us in a flow state, and that's what makes us happy. And the machine should help us do the stuff that annoy us and that are boring, and that we should keep the good work for ourselves. So there we are. And I'm going to stop the sharing so that I can see you. Voilà. You have. This is general. So thanks for your attention. I hope you're okay.
Hey, machine learning. Let's break machines. Let's break machines.
I didn't say break machine. I said let's make it do the boring stuff and keep the good work for ourselves.
Destroy capitalism. And then what? And then we find something else to destroy. I try to ask questions. I'm not sure if I would succeed. Actual crime. No, seriously, because I don't know I sense, and actually I have to give a disclaimer. I'm not big fan of AI per se, but I was thinking, aren't they sort of painting this human condition into some sort of normalized state? Then a normal state is a bit outdated, and that's our poetic perspective. A normal state of a human being. You wake up in the morning, you smell the coffee, you eat croissant, you hear the birds, everything is tactile. You open the newspaper, you feel the newspaper. But I'm sort of catching myself. Maybe it's outdated. Maybe normal state is actually touching glasses, those mobile phones. My kids and all the younger generation is. So it's less tactile. But that's a state right now, right? Should we fight it or not? I don't know. I'm not going into that. I'm trying to sort of declare that the normalcy which you assume, maybe it's outdated a bit. And from that point of view, maybe this AI, which I'm not big fan of, represents the new normalcy. I don't know. I'm being devil's advocate. I'm just throwing sort of something to discuss.
Yeah.
Well,
No?
if I can like work on what you just said, when I was working on my thesis on poiesis, on animation poiesis, do you know Leroy-Gourhan? He's a French anthropologist. He actually he's from the first part of the 20th century. And for him, so in this externalization theory, for him as a human being, we do a kind of mental work. So when I speak to you, you do a work of imagining, and if I show you picture, we do a work of talking around the picture. And when he saw coming the audiovisual, and that is for comics and that is for cinema, he was like, this is a normal process of exteriorization of the memory that I've been seeing in humans. But at some point, there will be a very small part of the humans that we will be able to do the very focus work of making those audiovisual pieces, and there will be a huge part of humanity that we will be robbed of their imaginary work and will consume those audiovisuals. And it's a little bit it's a little bit of a caricature, because I feel that there are some audiovisual work where you still have to do the imaginary work. It's not robbing you, but in an economy of attention, we do have something like that happening, like a very few people that can make and the rest that just consume. So of course, normalcy, this is what is going on, but for me, it's a very low, like, we were talking about the research on touch. There are laboratories in France that are trying to replicate touch, and now we have devices that kind of respond to the touch. It goes like, but it's very low. C'est quoi le mot déjà? I need to find the word in France. It's like a movie with very few pixels. It's not as rich as the actual touching in reality. So we are kind of living in a lower definition, lower definition experience somehow. If in this normalcy of the glass screen.
I was also thinking, like, okay, there's this dead guy for many centuries, Plato, and he was attacking any sort of appearance, and I'm a former animator, now I'm teacher. I was creating appearances, and Plato was he's not talking about tactile, everything which is appearance is bad because it messes up your soul, so to speak. You have to stay away from sort of imagination, and you have to ban poets from ideal state, right? So this is one extreme. Yes. But I wanted to ask, sort of, because tool develops so fast, right? And maybe we will reach the state then we could mimic all the tactile experiences virtually. Could virtual really replace? I mean, basically, we probably say, no, we have body, but can you, and that's a bit Cartesian dilemma, can we really simulate everything, and we lose sense what is real was not real because tools are so advanced and tools really go in that direction, right?
Are those tools or are they products? Hannah Arendt. Sorry for interrupting your rambling.
Yeah, it's okay.
But are we really talking about tools, or are they tools becoming more and more of a product? I mean, you said that. Sorry, I need to look there into the tool. You said that they're hard to use. And I was thinking about, we call them AI, but really the thing that changed were how we interface with the algorithms. Because you said we're prompting. And that's what Willem Flusser was already saying in the 80s, end of the 90s. He said, like, probably a lot of people will only prompt and produce text from prompts, that ChatGPT, that we already have that and all the ethical implications, but that we now use prompts to also generate visuals. That's kind of a step back, right? It's kind of odd. It's like trying to write a text on the PC with cutlery.
Counter argument. It brings us back to poetry. It brings us back into writing lines of text which open up in between for layers of interpretation. Even if the interpretation is done, the labor of interpretation is done by a machine in terms of this in-betweening. And just to hyperlink it to your argument, my thought was it's not substantiated by any philosophy or critical theory, but a clear thought was that timeline-wise, especially Gen AI, but also partially neural network-based AI, is motion tweening between historical memory of what cinema, AV, and all of the rest of the representations used to be, and then what they could be in the future. But this thought is on epigrammatic level, and this is not yet poetry.
Yeah, and I think you can have something poetical when you use it for serendipity. Like you can have surprising collage effect or surprising results that you didn't think about. But on the other side, it's also a very normalizing machine, because it's making the fringe disappear. So it gives you the result that is in the top of the cloche. And we know that as time goes, models use less and less what's in the fringe. So what is interesting, what is original, what is unexpected, and it stays a lot in the medium part, the very general part, the fashionable part. And so there's a tension here where it can get you to places you hadn't thought about on one side, but on the other side, it's really feeding you what's fashionable, what's in the norm, in the middle of the curve.
But look, this sounds like ChatGPT in August 22, okay? And then came Humanizer and Humanizer Pro. You probably know what I mean. Like it just introduces human appearing effects and glitches and mistakes so that students can fake their seminar work much better, because it introduces actually human and pro-human, by the way. There's Humanizer Pro plugin. But isn't it just a question of time when both photo image related, as well as later on probably graphically related, which you actually beautifully presented the difference between, are gonna kind of, okay, probably depends on investment or of someone's assessment of market relevance. Because for ChatGPT, this was immediately obvious that we need to humanize it and pro-humanize it so we can cheat the professors or whatever, the assessors. I'm not sure about the animation realm, but
there's one thing that for now, only Midjourney has proven its economical model. All the rest of Gen AI has been fed by investment for people that are hoping to have found the next gold digging stream. But right now, it's not economically sustainable. The American government is like, hey guys, we changed all our electrical infrastructure for you to make AI, but where are the results? So it could be both way. It could go like, yeah, it's going to move so fast and we're going so impressed by the result. But on the other way, we're not sure that the technology we are using now will still be available in 2 years, and probably not as cheap as it is right now. So there's that also.
I want to propose one thought experiment. Okay, another dead guy, not Plato this time. I thought about Clement Greenberg. You know, the art historian who was big force behind modernism. And his key idea is like, okay, don't kill the medium by trying to use for something else when it actually can do. An example of Clement Greenberg was painting. You know, it's wrong to use painting to represent something. Painting is representative in itself. You know, apply colors, color speaks, texture speaks, you know, dripping colors, that's what painting is all about. To paint the house is wrong. Painting has to talk. So, thought experiment, if you let this, you know, this whole AI beast to do what she or he can do well, how, in your opinion, how it would look like? Maybe
Well,
you're using it in the wrong way. Maybe you're asking something it's not good at. But then the question, what is it good at? You know? I saw those more stable diffusion, yeah, those strange morphs, you can immediately recognize the style. Oh, this is medium. And then you try to pull it into something we used to, like do 2D animation, it's not good at. Well, tool is wrong, but okay, maybe it's good at that ugly little, you know, silly morphs, which is doing. But we should live with that. That's, no? I mean...
That's a good point. I mean, the question is, what are our intentions? What are the intentions of the people who develop the tools? That I think these are valid questions because I mean, this eerie not having enough fingers, misplacing things, that is what we have right now. That is the current aesthetics of AI. It will probably become something else very soon.
Revival of surrealism. We're in another modernist period.
That's going.
I mean, I agree. It's definitely not the avant-garde tool. It might be an avant-garde glitch. Okay, sorry.
For me, there's two paths to it, and probably they will coexist. There will be things that will be made with AI, and maybe even we can imagine that we can just ask the AI to do a program specially tailored for us. Like tonight, I want to see a rom-com with aliens and I don't know, pink ship, and he will have, and I only have 20 minutes. Can you do me an episode of that? And it might just happen. And on the other side, it is already interrogating what we are doing with our time. I mean, the kind of pictures I show you, like the kind of paintings, digital paintings that takes days to make. Maybe this is not, either we do it for our own pleasure, for the pleasure of the making, or we do something else that is maybe more personal also. I don't know, but like what the AI cannot do is, one of my teachers said to me once, and it was about animation, look, animation is the proof that 200 people can do a thing, the same thing, and make it look like only one person did it, but nobody can fail like you. And so turn your mistake into style. That's what the kind of so there's that also. Maybe what AI is forcing us to like explore our specificity as humans, and not in a crafty, impressive way, like in La Société du Spectacle kind of thing, but really like it's not about impressing people anymore. But I mean, photography didn't kill photorealistic painting either. So yeah.